Hello there, this is Jenny McGarvey, and I am here to share with you today how I created my Project Life Week 39. I used the Scraptastic Kit Club October 2014 This Life Noted Kit for this particular spread. As you can see, I am laying out my photos as I planned in my notebook, and I'm just using the template that I always use in my videos to do that. Now, right now, I am trimming up a 4x4 Instagram photo that I printed on one 4x6 photo using my Canon selfie. And then I also have two 3x4s that I did the same thing with. I'm going through the 4x6 cards in this kit to find one that will work to go behind that Instagram photo, as you can see right there. And that is the one that I ultimately end up choosing. And then I go ahead and just place that in there. And I do pull out those cut aparts because I know that I'm really fond of those this month, and they're going to work great with this particular page. And so I want to keep those handy so I can go ahead and just keep those all right there and keep an eye on them and use them as I want to. Now I'm going to go ahead and go through the 3x4 cards and choose two that will go nicely in those two outside spots. I need one that'll work for journaling and then one that's just filler, and I've already placed the filler one, the one with the gem, over on the right side, and this exclamation point one I think is going to work pretty well for the journaling card also. I'm going to go through all of the rest of the cards just to make sure that there's one that won't work better than that exclamation point card, but it's pretty perfect for the journaling that I need to do for that photo of my son doing homework. So it will ultimately be just the perfect one for that need in that slot. Now those are the rub-ons right there that you can see at the bottom of the screen that came with this particular kit. I'm really fond of these. They're easy to use as far as rub-on goes, but then the theme of these, they're just sort of ordinary and perfect for pocket scrapbooking because you can just put them on top of photos, on top of cards for the slots, all kinds of different things. So I really do enjoy those particular rub-ons for this theme. Now, as I mentioned before, I've started to use those cut aparts, and they're perfect for not only embellishing, but also adding just the tiniest bit of journaling as well. I went ahead and trimmed one of the square ones, and it has room for just the teeniest, tiniest bit of journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and use my typewriter because it's so much smaller, the text is, than my handwriting. So I can just get a word or two right on there, and it keeps it looking neat and tidy as well. So I am doing that off screen right now, but I've already adhered the little bit right to it. And then now after I'm done running it through the typewriter, I'm going to use the tiny attacher as well. But that's really only for embellishment's sake. It's already adhered to the photo, so it's not necessary. Now I am good with that other photo, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere down my Instagram photo to that background card. And then I realize that there is also, I need to do some sort of journaling about this photo, so I'm going to trim out just that date little part of the cut apart. It's a royal blue or a navy blue, and adhere it down to my card. These are flowers for my wedding anniversary, so putting the date on here is really just enough. I don't feel like I need to add anything else. I think that's pretty self-explanatory what the photos are for if I'm putting down the date of my wedding anniversary. So I use a date roller stamp and then my VersaFine ink that I like to use for most of my stamping. I use it, I'd say, for probably about 85 to 90% of my stamping, just because I don't consider myself an expert, and that makes it pretty much flawless all the time. So now, most of these photos don't need a whole lot of journaling or a whole lot of embellishing, because they're pretty self-explanatory and they are pretty straightforward. So I will absolutely add a little bit here and there to certain things, like this particular journaling card. I'm using just a one-word phrase to add something to this particular card, but it just doesn't need a whole lot, and that's what's really cool about documenting everyday life, is that for me, most of my photos are pretty self-explanatory, so that works out just fine for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and again use my typewriter, not only because I used it for the one above, but because I want to say quite a bit on this card, and I knew that with my handwriting I could not get everything on there that I wanted to get on there. So using the typewriter kind of helps me with that. I can get more on the page than I would ordinarily be able to do if I had handwritten it. Now, I am a big fan of handwriting on my pages. I think it's kind of the way to go to save your handwriting for posterity. However, I use it on pretty much every spread in some different way, shape, or form, but I don't always use it. So as you can see, the typewriting goes perfectly in that little space that I had available, and I was able to write quite a bit right there. Now I trimmed apart those two photos that I had printed on the one 4x6 photo, and now I'm going to go ahead and trim out another cut apart that I want to use on that email. This was a nice email I had received from one of my son's teachers, and I really wanted to keep it in my album. I thought it was a nice little thing to, save. So I'm going to just use a little cut apart just to embellish it in the slightest bit, and then I'm going to pull out the Gossamer Blue enamel stars that are also included in this kit and just add 3 of those to this particular photo as well, because then I dress it up a lot, but it's not too much, it's not crazy, and it's not something that you're like, oh, she must have spent a lot of time on that. Because as I've discussed before, I don't like to go crazy on my layouts for Project Life. I still do 12 by 12 scrapping and card making, so I like to keep my project life fairly simple. That doesn't mean I don't embellish. It doesn't mean I don't journal. It just means that I don't go particularly crazy on any one layout, because I probably wouldn't be able to keep up with this project if I did. And honestly, keeping up with the project is really such a joy to me that I don't want to stop doing it. So it makes the most sense for me to keep it simple. Now I've used those strips of the cut aparts and added one to the bottom of this photo, and it's really pretty genius because it says this is what blank looks like, or something like that, and I'm able to write Crazy Hair Day in that spot, and it tells the entire story that it was Crazy Hair Day at school, and I didn't even have to journal. I just wrote Crazy Hair Day, and that was perfect. So that's really exciting to me, and I love, love, love to add the little strips to photos. I think that that's so cool, and it just gives them a whole different look, and it's really neat, and it's absolutely, totally not a big deal at all. It's really super simple, so I love that. Now I'm pulling out the wood veneer from this kit, and the wood veneer are always a highlight for me. I love them. I'm just going to go ahead and place it right in the middle of this photo. It is a picture of homemade pizza, which is kind of random that I'm telling you that, but adding the little spinner looking thing with the arrow on top pointing to yeah, totally makes sense. It's a favorite meal of my family. I could absolutely journal that, but I absolutely don't think that I have to do that in any way, shape, or form. I'm also going to add a little brad from my stash. You would not have to do that at all. It's totally okay to use an enamel dot or something like that, so it's just fine. No worries there. So anyway, I'm finished with that side of the layout, and I'm going to go ahead and do the right side now, and I'm going to lay down my photos as I have got them, already planned out in my notebook, and I'm just going to trim up. I did 4 little 3x4 photos, and not 3x4, they're 2x3, excuse me for making that mistake, and I'm going to add those right to the slots for the 4x6, and I like doing this because I can get more photos on a layout. I absolutely could do it a different way, but it's really all that I need. I don't need 2 large photos. 2 small ones tells the story. I get it in this 4x6 slot, and it works out perfectly. Now I like to do this on a regular basis. I don't always do it, but I do like to add these occasionally, and I like how it changes up the look of my layout, and I don't even have to use a different page protector. And so using the same page protector for me simplifies the process. And like I said already, I like to keep the process simple because otherwise I would not be able to complete this project And completing the project is definitely very important to me. So, as you see, that's how I can change things up and keep them interesting without going crazy. Now, I have also taken one of those 2x3 photos and trimmed it down to a 2x2, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to a 3x4 card. Now, as you can see, it's completely simple, it's lovely, it works out great, it tells the story that I need it to tell just like that. And I've got all of my cards chosen, and that one over on the right side, the 3x4, I'm going to use that as a date card. So that one I'll work on near the very end of this video. And the bottom left one where there's just one small photo, I had thought that I was going to go ahead and use my silhouette for that, and I actually don't, but I'll talk more about that in a little bit. I'm using another one of those strips on that 4x6 card, and what I love is that's actually my favorite way to use it, not at the top or the bottom, but sort of in the middle. I just sort of love the way that it really makes the photo a lot more interesting and a lot more fun. And I do that whenever it's possible and not necessary that I keep it at the top or the bottom based on losing an important part of the photo. So in this case, it was totally fine to cover up a little bit of the trees in the sky. That was no problem at all. And it really just makes it look super cool to me. Now I'm adding more of the cut aparts to my photos as embellishments. I love these. They create so much fun on a layout without bulking things up, and right next to it I'm using a flare, so obviously I don't have a problem with the bulk, but I love that you can create a whole lot of different things by using cut aparts and embellishments all at the same time, but I'm not using so many competing elements. So on this particular layout, so I'm only using a couple of bulky embellishments and keeping the rest of them simple. And then it does not look like I've just gone overboard, which is not the theme of my album. The theme of my album is obviously about keeping it simple. And I think I've said the word simple at least 8 times in this video already today, but I just want to make sure that you get the picture here, right? So I'm adhering down those 2x3 photos right on that card, and that card is really fun because at the bottom you could just circle the dates to keep it ready to go and all of that. You wouldn't have to stamp, you wouldn't have to write the date, any of that. It's sort of an instant journaling card, but I will work a little bit more on that in a little while. At this point, I'm sort of looking at those rub-ons, and I want to take one of the squiggly arrows and put it on that photo so you can see that it's pointing to my son who's playing first base. But I wanted to make sure that it would work first, so I needed to kind of hover it above the photo to make sure that it would all fit and work and you'd be able to see it. And you can't get too close to the photo because otherwise you will possibly get those rub-ons stuck to your photo in a place that you don't want it. A lot of the times those rub-ons are really super sticky and they sometimes even stick to the back. I have not had that problem with these particular rub-ons, but you never know what you're going to get. And so I just like to play it safe and keep it away from anything that it might potentially stick to. So as you can see, I have another little cut apart, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that right to this, and I'm just going to add the tiniest bit of hand journaling on here. I probably could have used the typewriter, and honestly it probably would have been a better choice. I would have gotten it a little bit neater, cleaner, a little bit more organized looking, but it's okay. I like to use the pen. It keeps it simple and quick versus getting up and going to the typewriter and coming back and things of that nature. So it's totally okay. Now I am writing in the date, and as I said, you could circle it, but I just chose to write it in that little rectangle box that's at the bottom there too. Now I am going to stamp the really cool little camera stamp that comes in the kit this month at the bottom. As you can see, I'm making sure that it's going to fit using my VersaFine ink that I already talked about, and that is part of my way to dress up this card and make it a date card. Now I'm going to go through my stash and pull out some wood veneer numbers to use along with the alphabet stickers in this kit to create a date card for this particular one. And what's super cool is that I end up loving it, and it really works out great, and it's so cute. And I didn't use one that was particularly noted for a date card at all. It was just a filler card, right? But I made it a date card all on my own, and I had fun doing it, and probably because I keep most everything simple. So dressing up one card a little bit more was really very fun. Now, as I said, I was going to use that lower left-hand corner photo. I was going to make a card on my own with my silhouette. It's a picture of Derek Jeter's last game on TV, and we were watching it, and I wanted to make something sort of special for that. But this is not going to work out for me. I couldn't figure out how I could get it all to work. So what I did was I took one of the cards from the kit and a grid card from my stash. On the grid card, I stamped a couple of the stamps from the kit, used one of the rub-ons from the kit, and dressed the whole thing up. And I actually love it so much. I'm really excited how it turned out, and hopefully you'll like it too, and maybe it will inspire you to make something similar on your own. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this look at my process. You can see that I like to use the kit for the ease and the simplicity of my own particular pages, but I do pull things in here and there for my stash as they work out and make the kit even better and make the kit work even better for my photos and my particular needs. So if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out a lot, and it lets me know that you enjoy watching my videos and I can keep making them. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Have a great day, and you can find the Scraptastic Club kits at www.scraptasticclub.com. Thank you so much.